when you search the term, what is architecture, you kind of hit with definitions and abstract quotes about architecture being a language, a political statement, a collaborative process, an art form, a science, a reflection of culture, and so much more. And it can leave you pretty confused. My name is Liz Watt and welcome. I create content and resources for students of architecture to help you learn faster and easier about design, documenting and creating. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe. In today's video, I'm going to talk about what architecture really is at its core. So let's get started. At a basic level, architecture is commonly defined as the process of planning, designing, and constructing buildings or structures. By definition then, a building is merely a structure with a floor, a roof, and some walls. But true architecture really goes well beyond a mere building. Every architect seems to have a slightly different definition of what architecture means to them. So it's important as a student and practitioner of architecture to start to develop your own understanding and philosophies about what architecture is for you, both as a designer and also as an inhabitant of architecture. So what is it that makes architecture architecture? Let's start with people, because without people, architecture would not exist. Architecture is not a natural phenomenon. It is a man-made phenomenon that stems from the thoughts and sort of the ideas of the human mind. So without the human mind, thoughts of the possibilities of what architecture could be would not exist. These thoughts and ideas would not actually be brought into reality without humans becoming really excited and passionate about those ideas and then taking action to turn them into something real, beyond an idea on paper or vision in the mind. So therefore, architecture is ultimately created by humans for humans. It's for people. Without humans to create and experience architecture, it does not exist. So an architectural designer is designing and creating for the people who are going to use and experience the structures and spaces and places they create. The key consideration at the core of every design must be the internal experience that the final architectural design and structure will create for the people inside of it and inhabiting it. Whether a designer is conscious of this or not, every design primarily affects the experience of people. So if you believe architecture is art, it will create an internal response in people through the combinations of colors, materials, compositions, and design elements and principles. Some people may love the result and some people may not. If you believe architecture is a political statement, it will also create an internal response in people through confrontation and a clear agenda that supports certain ideals. Some people may agree and adhere to these ideals and some may not. If you believe architecture is a social statement, it will create an internal response in people that makes them feel comfortable and like they belong and are connected. Some people may feel a part of something, some people may not. So every piece of architecture will create an internal response and experience in people. So humans perceive their external environment and the architecture within it through sensation, physical sensation, thoughts and words and emotions. Our internal experience comes as a result of what we perceive in that external environment. So we sense architecture through sight, through sound, taste, smell and touch. We see the composition of design elements and principles in a really unique sort of visual and aesthetic experience. We can touch and feel the materials and smell the cold of the metal, the rain on the hot concrete or the freshly sawn timber. We can hear the echoing of stilettos on a timber floor or the clanging of a metal gate. So in response to these physical sensations, we have thoughts about what this means and we give words to these meanings. We can consider architecture and design with an analytical and a rational mind and create thoughts and ideas about the meaning that a particular space or place creates for each of us as individuals or even a collective experience as a society. We then experience emotions that energetically align with our sensations and thoughts. So an emotional response to architecture or a space or a place will either feel really good and make you want to stay for more, or it will feel not so good and make you want to go. Even no awareness of the architecture or a lack of an emotional response to it is still a response. So architecture as art may make you feel in awe, inspired, or excited, or shocked, repulsed, or uninspired. Architecture as, say, a political statement may make you feel activated, confronted, or disturbed, or inflamed, passionate, or aroused. Architecture as a social statement may make you feel connected, accepted, or included, or separated, isolated, or outcast. An experiential response to architecture is really internal and personal to every individual, but it's a combination of these internal sensations, thoughts, and emotions inside our body that is the human experience. So how does architecture create a particular experience? Well, every piece of architecture is created by the universal language of architecture. A language is created by the compilation of a series of many different elements and principles, in this case architecture, and these different combinations of these pieces are evident throughout architecture, and they vary between different cultures and times and places. The fundamental design elements and principles are repeated over and over in different combinations to create different designs and different experiences. These architectural design elements and principles have been identified by people looking at architecture and buildings and trying to make sense of it and bring some meaning and order and logic to the pieces and the aspects of what makes architecture. So it's the considered use of these sort of universal elements and principles that allows an architect to organize and consciously control the design decisions and final outcome, and that personal experience of sensation, thought, and emotion in the inhabitants. It's therefore the absence and unconscious use of these elements and principles that allows an architect to unconsciously create something that is uncontrolled, with little consideration of the experience of sensations, thoughts, and emotions that their work will evoke in humans. So how then do we design for experience? Well, personal internal response and experience comes from individual memory and the associations that people make with external environments. Certain environments and experiences will make you feel safe and secure, or peaceful or calm, or even distressed and unsafe. So it's impossible to determine how every human will interact with and respond to a certain piece of architecture. There are certain qualities in architectural space that will evoke universal and collective responses and experiences in people. For example, a bright, light, open space lined in timber, looking through openings to a view of a beautiful forest of trees, can make someone feel really safe and secure, calm, peaceful, and connected to nature. On the other hand, a small, cold, dark, sort of enclosed concrete box with no openings can make a person feel disconnected, isolated, alone, and fearful. Regardless of what culture, time, or place you come from, there are certain qualities of space that make you feel a certain way and evoke a particular response and experience. An architect has control over this, whether you're aware of it or not, and whether you like it or not, and with this comes responsibility. There may be times when a designer chooses to make a statement that creates controversy or confrontation in an attempt to bring awareness to something. It makes people talk and try to understand. It makes people feel uncomfortable or on edge and want to get away. There may be times when a designer chooses to create a place of calm, relaxation, and safety where people want to stay forever. The key is therefore to understand what the general experience is that you're trying to achieve and why, and then start to develop a design that will generate this response through a unique combination of design elements and principles. There is so much pain and suffering in the world that surely, unless there's a good reason, an architectural designer should want to create something that creates a positive experience that makes people feel good and enhances our lives and well-being and improves what was there before. So therefore, we come back to our first question: what is architecture? Architecture can be and is everything. It is and can be art, a political statement, a social statement, a functional space, a thing of beauty, or ugliness, a haven, a language. At its core, though, it is a human experience. It does not exist as architecture without the human experience. It is up to the architect and designer to determine the sensations the inhabitant will experience. It is up to the architect and designer to determine the meaning of their architecture. It is up to the architect and designer to understand the emotional response that their work is going to generate in people. It is up to the architect and designer to decide if this is something that will contribute and add positive value to the world and make the world a better place for the people who will experience their work. So good architecture could be considered that which consciously addresses these issues. Bad architecture could be considered that which unconsciously ignores these issues. It comes down to the personal experience. So I would love to know your ideas about what you think architecture is, or if you have any more questions coming out of this video, let me know in the comments. If you want to know more, then make sure you hit the notification button and consider subscribing to my channel, because I have a ton of content to share to help you learn faster and make studying and practicing architecture so much easier. While you wait for the next episode, make sure you check out some of my other work. That's everything for today. I hope you found it helpful, or at least got you thinking about what architecture is for you. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.